I had gotten a camera given to me initially way back when, and that was something that was unexpected. But I really like unexpected things. I hate surprises personally, but it was cool to be able to get something that you don't really expect in a way that it's just delivered in a system. For me, it was Christmas, so that was kind of fun. But then you kind of want to explore what you can do with that thing. And for me, as a very mechanical person, very independent mindset in the ways of learning how things work, and just like I want to do it myself, So I just kept on going and kept on shooting photos, like honestly clogging up my computer with all the memory. But that's how I just started off, was just continuing to produce stuff, rather than, even if it was bad at the time, it was pretty awful. I'll accept that. But like you have to learn at some point, So that's how I kind of started, if you will, but officially within the bounds of my high school at Fullerton, and then eventually La Habra. So those are two different places that kind of sparked official interest, though. My guidance within my photography is like, how do I take something that is unconventional, and then work with that in that bounds, like not defiling what it is. When I shoot a homeless person, I'm not trying to say they're no longer homeless. I don't want to disembody the fact, in a sense. I like to present out as it is real, as it would be in real life. But then how do I capture that in a way that people want to look at, rather than kind of looking away from? That's why I've found homeless people in street photography is something that's huge, because we don't want to make eye contact with anybody on the street. You wouldn't walk up and hug someone. That'd be kind of strange. How do you look at something that's not bad at all, but something that's less obvious, and then do it in a way that would be striking or more like profound, without making it overkill and like over the top of the person or what their situation is. So for me, medium is basically all digital. However, I have strayed a little bit into film, both film video and also film photography. However, for me, it's basically entirely digital. However, I do things to make it look like and mimic film. I believe that these are kind of referencing that style, but basically, for me, it's making it as old looking as possible while retaining quality that you'd want. But yeah, for me, it's a long process of overproduction and making it ridiculous, but at the same time, that you're making what you want to make. So for me, it's a lot of that. A lot of people want to pin my photography in a genre, and I almost say, well, I have a lot of different subgenres within it. Yes, my photography has an element that is like consistent, but for me, it's basically taking the anti-photogenic, or things that wouldn't, not that they're ugly, but things that aren't as typical being photographed, and then using that as a subject matter. In a sense where you're now taking something that wouldn't be photographed to make it photographed and make it presentable in a sense. Like that's why I shoot a lot of abandoned buildings and things like that, where I find interest in what's not right and what's the atypical, and then making that your new typical, or that your new almost limited perspective is that exact image. I love things that are vintage. I love things, as you can see with all of them, that are vintage to an extent, and I like to integrate that within it. However, for these pieces, this is shot in black and white, this one on the end, and then I recolorized it. It's become a modern day part of my style. It basically is remembering how that color looked and remembering what I remember exactly from the scene, and then taking that and thinking, okay, let's objectively look at it. Let's limit it to just that color, or let's limit it to maybe 2 to 3 colors at max. And that's become a new style for me, especially because of this show. It's something that I just tried out at first and then realized was really a lot of fun for me as well. in Ganal Lumber. This is their new area of communications, somewhat offices they're going to be building. So everything's under construction right now. It's kind of cool because, I get to shoot in something that's being built rather than something that's already been built or just kind of sitting there as, operation. But yeah, I really enjoy the idea of, kind of getting into something beforehand or maybe even afterhand. But yeah, it's interesting to me that we get to do that, and especially, I'm really appreciative that we were able to get in here also. So that's kind of neat as well. Being a different kind of space, it's interesting to be able to take a look at first, and then see what it'll become later on. Regarding unconventional spaces, or even just places that are interesting on their own, a lot of it is, how do you see the world and what do you want to provide? But I've found that one of the best ways to do that is just contact people or just go to public places that you can find that are really interesting on their own. One of my favorite places to shoot is Lakma, but I've only shot there once and I already know it's my favorite. But personally, a lot of abandoned buildings for myself, and you want to be as ethical and reasonable as possible within that. Goal is to always, ask people or to get permission when you're going to do a big shoot. Just like, for instance, where we're at right now is under a lot of coordination, but it's doable. It's totally doable. I think that it's interesting that, we look at things as being provided by the space rather than the actual equipment that you have. Sometimes it's really more providing that space or providing the subject matter itself as the space than having fantastic millions of dollars of equipment. There's a saying that's better glass than a camera, and basically if you have better lenses, then your camera will operate better than you would ever imagine. Well, also if you have a better image to take a picture of, it's probably going to beat out the whole camera entirely. I've seen some awesome photos on awful cameras, and it's a great picture. That's all that matters in the end. So the space is completely the home of the image, and it's the subject itself, and you can put a subject within it and it fits even better. So to get your picture basically off of your iPhone, personally, I would do it a different way. I would take it to Dropbox, and I get that off Dropbox and put that on my computer itself. Or you can really, really jerry-rig it and iMessage it to yourself. I have my number saved as me, and then I email or text myself just to get all my files transferred. It's efficient. It's a little bit, I don't know, socially awkward that you're texting yourself, but who cares? You have a picture transferred to your computer. However, when it comes to that, I've had images that I've wanted to be edited specifically on my phone, and personally I use apps like VSCO or Mextures. Those are two really subtle editing apps that don't really do a humongous amount, but they do really just provide basic filters that they emulate a filmic style, so you end up kind of drawing in a little bit of nostalgia, but then also adding in, kind of a grunge look to it, but without being overkill. It's really interesting. Some people go crazy, and I've loved their crazy stuff, but some people do really just basic edits, and they're incredible shots. So, that's the thing, is that sometimes it could be shot on a camera and be edited on an iPhone, or it could be shot on an iPhone and edited on your computer. So it's interesting that you can cross in between the two, or even just do edits wherever you need to. I've been inspired by photography that I've seen around, but I'm also really poorly versed in photography, especially street photography. I love it thoroughly, but I really don't know anything about it regarding its true history. I know, some of the fundamental history of it, but I feel awful that I don't know, my fellow forefathers, if you will. It's saddening, but at the same time, it's very much how I watch film. And that is that as a filmmaker, do I want to always try and draw from what's been done, or do I want to kind of hold myself in this little tiny, not inexperienced bubble, but a little bit less fully interjected bubble? I try to stray and not exactly dive in to learn every aspect of something if I want to make something that's a little bit more original, but I want to have things that people are familiar with. A lot of times an abstract art form is really general, that people don't like it. People freak out because it's something they're not familiar with. I think that film, a lot of it for me, is anything that can reference the old in a new way for the comedy's sake of it. Not even making fun of it. It could be a dark comedy and I could still roll with it perfectly fine. Or it could be a drama, for goodness sake. I have no problem with that. But it's just interesting that, sometimes everyone's obsessed with reaching the new standard of everything, and I kind of get lost. The new Michael Bay movies kind of scare me because it's too much overload of technology. And I'm used to, I want to chop film with scissors, and I'm terrified of all of this media standard trying to outdog the next person, and it's kind of redundant, but it has a place in society. It's okay,
you.